After Cafe, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's a motivational firewood guy, no other than Mr. Steve Gamlin. Welcome, Mr. Steve on After Cafe. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Not a problem at all. My name is Steve Gamlin. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it. I live in a little town in southern central New Hampshire, and I enjoy life as a professional speaker, as a visualization strategist with my coaching clients, as an author of 4 books, former radio personality, former stand up comedian, and co founder of a nonprofit dedicated to acts of kindness called Beach Bum Philanthropy. And at 57 years old, I have lived all the goals I set when I was 11 years old. Crashed and burned in between, but I've been grateful for the whole journey.
Be grateful, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world and being grateful in everything, Mr. Steve. And today, let's talk about being grateful. Beyond thank you, we often equate gratitude with saying thanks. But what does it feel like in a deepest form? Is it an emotion, practice, perspective, or something else entirely?
I see it as something that actually impacts us at a cellular level. And if you go out and if you Google or look up on any search engine, the benefits of gratitude, you'll find that it can help out with your if you're like me, if you've dealt with depression off and on throughout your life, it can help with that. It can actually help you to live longer. There are some studies that say that. And what I believe, it's the cornerstone of surviving everything that happens to you in your life. Life's not always easy. Life's not always fair, but if you find those little nuggets of gold each day, I think what that does is it add bricks into your foundation, and it keeps you going, it keeps you growing, it keeps you showing up, and it also keeps your senses pretty sharp too for the good things happening all around you.
Indeed. And Mr. Steve, how does a consistent gratitude practice fundamentally rewire our brain's default mode from scanning for problems to scanning for opportunities and gifts?
Well, it's looking for the good stuff is how I see it. And I'm generally a positive person by nature, so it's pretty cool that I got into speaking and making people laugh and acts of kindness and gratitude and all that. But there have been some very difficult days over my life. I've crashed and burned a few times in between, and I think a great benefit of that is being hardwired to look for the positive. And it doesn't mean in a fake way like, I don't see bad things. I only see good things. I see plenty of bad things. I just don't dwell on them. And I just try not to get them on my shoes. So I just do my best to find the positive, even in the toughest days. And I've had some very tough ones over the past few years. In the past 7 years, I have lost 4 people very close to me, including my dad, my business mentor, our little dog. And about 10 and a half months ago, unfortunately, my wife Tina passed away. And it can be tough to find moments to be grateful for or positive things, even on those days. But if you're wired to it, and if that's your habit, you can say, hey, look, what's happening right now around me is not a happy thing. But here's one little tiny thing I'm grateful for. It's almost like if you're climbing a rock wall or a cliff. You just get that little tiny thing you can step your toe on and at least stay there and not slip and fall. And that's what I've tried to use gratitude over the past 10 and a half months since losing my wife. It's to be very grateful for all the amazing times we had together and how her spirit is still very close to me, cheering me on and supporting me. So every day I look for those signs and I just find something to be positive for.
A common fear is that being grateful for what you have will make complacent and stall your ambition. How does you reconcile a deep sense of gratitude with a drive to grow and improve, Mr. Steve?
Well, I think the people that become complacent don't dig deeply enough into what they're grateful for. There are people I've asked, "Hey, what are you grateful for?" And they'll say, "Oh, my house, my job, and my wife." And I'll ask them again a month later, and they'll say, "I told you, my house, my job, and my wife." And I'm thinking, okay, first off, your energy is way low. And second, if you kind of keep just broad brushing like that, it's easy to get complacent when you just think, well, I already have a house, a job, and a wife that I'm, in my life. So hey, I'm great. I'm set. I don't have to work hard. I've already got them. And I think that's where the complacency comes from. So what I will ask people like that is, okay, what's your favorite room in your house to be in? And they go, oh, well, I love that we built this den or a family room. It's got a big TV, and on Sunday we all get together in there, and we make some snacks and some nachos and some popcorn, and we watch our favorite football team. And I go, look at your face right now. You're not just grateful for your house. You're grateful for this room that brings your family together, that lets you cheer on your team, that makes you happy. So don't just get complacent by saying house or wife or job. Think of that day. What part of that thing you say you're grateful for sticks out at you? What one little detail, what thing happened that day? If you're thankful for your job, great. Here's a question. Who was your favorite client you got to help this week? Whose problem did you make go away? Who reached out to you and said, oh my gosh, nobody else was able to solve this problem but you? So you're not just thankful for your job, you're thankful for how it makes you feel when you talk to people like that. And when it comes to your partner, what's your favorite moment today or yesterday, depending on what time you're doing it? What was your favorite moment that you would love to remember about your partner? Is it the way that you wake up and snuggle next to each other? Is it a little note that you leave for each other? Do you make your coffee for this other person? Do you make dinner together? Think of the moments. Don't just broad brush yourself into complacency. It's in the little tiny details. And when you stack those up, like I've been doing 14 and a half years, you create some pretty amazing connection to these things. And you want to just keep working harder to create even more of those moments and not just kind of broad brush and get lulled into complacency.
Mr. Steve, on the practice and challenges, the how of gratitude. Beyond keeping a journal, what are some unconventional or powerful ways to actively cultivate a grateful heart, especially on difficult day?
Yeah, if you're like me, if you walk around everywhere with your phone in your pocket, when you see some cool things, take a picture of them. Maybe it's a sunrise or a sunset that was just absolutely beautiful. Or maybe you were working out in your yard and you sat down for a minute and a butterfly landed near you. Well, without scaring it off, take a picture of it. But don't just take the picture, sit there and really enjoy the experience so that when you see that picture later, you've created this emotional anchor to it. That's an unconventional way. Sometimes people, if they're artistic, they love to sketch. Well, draw something that makes you smile each morning, or just do a little sketch of something you're grateful for that day, or your favorite person. Or what I love to do is reach out a few days a week. And I usually do this on social media in Messenger. And on my phone, I can either do a 30-second video or 60-second audio. I'll just pick a friend I haven't talked to in a while, and I'll hit the microphone or the camera and say, hey, it's me. Guess what? I thought of you today. You know what I'm grateful for? Do you remember the time we did this? Or do you remember the time I was down and you cheered me on? And you let people know, if not face to face, at least voice to ears, or if you do video to eyes, letting people know you are grateful for them. And it's funny because the reaction that I get a lot of times, the person will reach back out to me and say, oh my gosh, how did you know I needed that today? I was struggling, I was down. And you know what? I'm grateful for you now. And it just puts this energy out there that if you do it and if you explain to other people you're grateful for them, you never know where those ripples of kindness and gratitude might go. And you could change so many lives just by letting someone know you're grateful for them. And a lot of people don't do stuff like that, but I love to, and my close friends love to. So hopefully this message will inspire somebody else to do it as well. And if you're not comfortable using your voice or being on camera, jot somebody a little note and take a picture of it, like a little, even a little sticky note, and just write, thinking of you, grateful for you, I think you rock, you are awesome. Take a picture and text it to somebody and see how it impacts their day. It might just make them very grateful as well.
It's easy to be grateful when things go well, Mr. Steve. How do we find authentic gratitude in the midst of pain, loss, or profound disappointment?
Yeah, it can be tough. And because I've had, 4 deaths very close to me in the past 7 years, it has not been easy. But I still have the gratitude journal that I was writing in when my father passed away in early August of 2018. And the next morning, I opened my gratitude journal and I thought, "Oh my gosh, I just lost my dad, who was one of my best friends in the world. I need to create 3 things I'm grateful for." So I stopped and I thought, and it didn't take long. I was grateful that I made it to the hospice in time before he passed. I was grateful that I was holding his hand when he passed. And I was grateful that one of his favorite TV shows was on in the background. Now, he was pretty much unconscious at that point, but we put one of his favorite TV shows on, and we were laughing at the end of it where he would have always laughed at the end of it. And right when we were laughing and happy and the show was at his favorite part is when he actively started to pass away. So he got to hear laughter and feel good energy and love in the room when he passed. And those were my 3 gratitudes the morning after one of the absolute worst, toughest, most defeating days of my life. So there's always something to be grateful for if you just look for it. It's like panning for gold. There's just these little tiny flecks of gold in the middle of all the mud, and you got to focus on those and find them. They're there. Not always easy, but they are there.
Yes, it's always in the corner, people. Find it. Can
Yep.
gratitude ever be toxic, Mr. Steve? Is there a danger in using the bypass or invalidate legitimate pain, anger, or grief?
I don't know if I would call it toxic, but it can mislead you sometimes if you're one of those people who's just positive all the time, but very, unicorns and rainbows positive. And there are things going on in your life that are difficult or are causing harm. If you ignore them because you're just saying, I'm happy, I'm grateful, I'm this, but you ignore the things that really need to have attention paid to them, wouldn't necessarily call it toxic, but it can be dangerous. That if you've just got your head in the clouds saying everything is great, I'm grateful for everything, but you're not addressing the actual problems that could harm you, that's a challenge. And I think you got to just you got to be real about life. You got to take care of your responsibilities and not just say, "Oh, everything's great," when it's not. But even in the struggle, you can find things that are good and are positive. But to just say that everything's great and I'm grateful for everything in the world while things are actually going wrong, that may not serve you too well.
Neuroscientists say our brains are wired with negativity bias. How do we make the feeling of gratitude sticky enough to compete with our natural tendency to remember what went wrong?
Yeah. Well, we can have that tendency. It doesn't mean we have to dwell in it. And social media these days is a great example of it. You want to talk about a toxic swamp of raw sewage. A lot of social media is very, very negative, and it's so easy to get caught up in it. And all of a sudden, you get down the rabbit hole of a whole bunch of TikTok videos or YouTube shorts or Facebook threads all about negative stuff, or these news sites that are so skewed to one side that they're all negative. You've got to remember, if we have that bias, then you've got to be very cautious with it, and you have to draw your boundaries to not get sucked into the very negative, because then all of a sudden you're in over your head and you just get pulled down. It's like flushing yourself down a toilet of negativity. My brain is like everybody else's brain. It may have the negativity bias, and there are days I get caught in rabbit holes of negative stuff. If I'm not in a really good mood or if something's gone wrong and I see something negative and it gets me all, energized and upset and angry and that, I have to remember that it's up to me to say, "You know what? Delete, not today."
Hmm.
We may be wired for that negativity. It doesn't mean we have to follow it. We're wired for a lot of things, but it could be good or it could be bad depending on where we divert our attention to. So if you catch yourself falling victim to your negative bias, don't use it as an excuse to say my brain is wired that way. Just say, hey, look, we all have this tendency, right? Well, today I'm not going to succumb to this tendency. I'm going to go find something positive. I'm going to go do something positive to create some ripples. And then I'm going to be grateful for the fact that I sidestepped that tendency and I went and did something good. And that's the little thing I'm going to rest my toe on for that day. And then the next day, I'll find another way.
Mr. Steve, can you talk about your podcast, Motivational Firewood? What is all
Yeah.
about?
Yeah. Well, the actual phrase motivational firewood, I own the trademark on that. I've owned it for about 18 years now. What it is, and this is what the podcast is all about. I can't change your life. And I'm also not one of those motivational speakers that runs around yelling, rah, 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 buy my stuff and just yells stuff that rhymes and things like that. The whole concept of motivational firewood came out of somebody asking, hey, Steve, what sets you apart from other speakers? And I said the usual thing, like I cheer people on, I help people change their lives. And he said, but what makes you different? And I said, look, if people are coming to hear me speak, if people are listening to my podcast, it means that they wish for something better in their life. They've got a little tiny spark in their heart, but they don't quite know what to do with it. They just say, I want my life to be better, but they don't quite know how to get there. If they have that spark, and if I share a story, a tip, a tactic, a lesson, something, and I show them how they can take an action to improve their life, because when I first explained it to someone, I said, it's kind of like you've got the spark. I'm giving you a piece of motivational firewood. And when you put them together, you create fire. So my podcasts are very short, usually a single topic, maybe 6 to 8 minutes long. But it's just about, hey, look, if you've got a spark for this today, here's a lesson, something I've learned in my life to show you a path to get from your spark to even a little bit of fire. And then listen again next week. Maybe we'll make a bigger fire together. But it's all about helping people to get a little farther than they are right now in a very simple way. I don't do the woo woo stuff. I do quick, actionable, relatable stories and tips and tactics and strategies. And that's because that's how I learn most. So that's what I share with other people.
So, Mr. Steve, what are your short term and long term goals as a podcast host, as well as a speaker?
Yeah. Short term right now is getting back on stages. The past few years, between the losses that I've had, the pandemic made a lot of my in-person speaking go away. So I was on stage last Saturday. I've got a big event coming up in November and another one in December. So getting back on stages is the big goal right now. And I'm working with a number of people for a brand new website. I've got brand new headshots. I've got a brand new marketing person. So getting back on stages and getting my name back out there. And a big goal in 2016 is to be speaking at grief conferences for other people who have lost somebody very, very close to them, to share my journey to help other people who might be very fresh in their grief and not sure how they can survive it. I want to share our story, my story, and my Tina's story to help them as well. So that's a big one for the coming year.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Steve, and looking forward for more success. So, can we be grateful for our own perceived flaws, failures, or limitations?
Oh, I'm grateful for mine every day. And I people ask, what qualifies you to speak on this stuff? I said, hey, I screwed my life up way more than you have. And I put it back together and I survived it. And I took a lot of notes. And thank God I did. I've kept journals now for, gosh, 35 plus years. And I've
Nice.
written down almost everything that's ever happened to me. And even what I now refer to as the stupidest decisions I've ever made in my life are now stories that can help other people. So even my lowest points, if I sifted through and I found the gold and the lesson and that one little thing that kept me going, which helped me to create success, I am grateful for those stories because now I don't have to make up stories like some other speakers do. Somebody asked me recently and they just looked at me and said, "Hey, Steve, how do you make up those stories you share on stage?" And I just stared at them and tilted my head like a puppy when it's curious. And I said, "Really? Have you not been paying attention to my life for the past 23 years? I screwed my life up way more than you did. And here I am. Despite the losses, here I am, happier,
Yes.
healthier, and more focused and just excited about sharing my story to help other people than I've ever been. And I'm grateful for all the toughest days in my life that have given me the most powerful stories to share."
And thank you for sharing to the world, Mr. Steve. Thank you, thank you. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract poetry in second season. A book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season. A food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 fourth season. And my baby podcast law 101 and mental health 101. Love letters in a third season, and movie 101 review, music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Steve, if you could instill one core understanding about gratitude into our collective consciousness, what would it be?
Start with the person in your mirror. And even if you do this, just do it for 7 days. This is a challenge I give to my coaching clients. I say, put a little sheet of paper in your bathroom and write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And every morning when you're getting ready for your day, look in the mirror. Start at the top of your head and work your way down to your feet. Find something that you appreciate or like about yourself, maybe even love about yourself. Or if that's an uncomfortable word for you, something you think is kind of cool. And write down something. I'm grateful for my eyes. I'm grateful for my hair. I'm grateful for the little dimples I get when I smile, which makes me want to smile more. I'm grateful that I've lost weight and I can see my ribs now. That was one of mine, by the way. Start with the person in your mirror. Be grateful for something about yourself. And I'm grateful for the voice that I have that allows me to share stories all around the world. I've been on over 300 podcasts all around the world. I'm grateful for the voice I have and the stories that I get to share. So start with the person in your mirror and think of something you are grateful for. And if you can't think of anything, be grateful you have survived everything that life has done to you so far, because not everybody has. And that makes you really cool. And that's something worth being grateful for. And I hope you are.
And Mr. Steve, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, if you look up Motivational Firewood Podcast, you can find me out there. And you can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn under Steve Gamlin, Gamlin.
Yes, people, let's support Master Steve Gamlin, because if you support him, for sure, more and more motivational firewood will come and arise. So, Mr. Steve, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.